Hey everyone, welcome to After Church Tea Time. We're very happy to have you today. I'm Yorine and I'm accompanied by Andia, Dylan, and Hannah today to talk about this sermon by Adam and Brian on If You Have a Desire, You Will Receive It. So pretty good sermon and service, lots of insights. But before we begin, I know we always present our drinks of choice. I have to say, today was too hot for a tea, so I have my very regular fresh water. I don't know about you guys. What are you drinking?
I have some iced coffee.
Cool.
Yeah, I got some iced coffee and I got 2 drinks today, and then a little orangeade sparkling water juice. It's really good.
Nice.
It's also very hot here too. So I went to Starbucks and got an iced coffee with heavy cream.
It's iced coffee day, I see. Yeah. I never tested it, but I will try maybe one day. So, beginning on the sermon, there was a lot actually, even in the card reading, the intro, a lot of juicy goodness. But I guess we can start by talking about Adam and Brian's story on the DISA application and how it went for them. And I guess I was really inspired how they put everything into perspective, because they got into Harmonious Union in January 2020, right? Starting the application process in the middle of COVID, so May 2021. But there are a lot of similarities to Shaleia's spousal visa process, that she started in 2017 or 2018, and that she literally just finished. She just took her oath to become an American citizen. And I think it's especially hard, there are especially hard challenges for visa applications, but the spiritual lessons are the same as for any challenges. And I think that's what we can take from this sermon and probably discuss. It's that all that they healed, it can be an inspiration for us for our own challenges. And that's what, I want to ask you guys about that. How do you feel about their story? And maybe you would like to share like what it reminded you of in your own life that you're working on right now.
It really resonated with me. It was also very comforting and like a good reminder of just kind of what I've been going through the past few weeks. And I like that they shared like the Stockholm story, where, you know, they went in thinking like everything was going to go great, it's going to be their time, and then they're presented with like all these other challenges. And I like that was really parallel to what I've been experiencing. Like I've been making a lot of good breakthroughs and like, you know, healing a lot of things, just going deeper, and that part feels great. But then the past few weeks, there's just been like challenges arising, but they're like kind of new. It's like new territory, just like going deeper into, you know, healing myself and like healing my relationship with God. And, you know, like my twin flame is triggering me in like different ways now. You know, it's like, yeah, there's been like this whole shift, and it's felt like really scary. I've had days where kind of like what Brianne said, like, am I supposed to be doing this? Like, am I, am I crazy to like, you know, go down this path? But then, you know, I really liked how she spoke about like, you always hear that voice of God just telling you to like, just keep going, like, no matter how like confusing it looks like on the outside, you know, there's always something inside my heart that's just like, no, like, you know what you need to do, just chop wood, carry water, as you know, Jeff and Shaleia saying, my coach always reminds me, it's like just the work of the day, you know, even if it feels a little different or it may look a little different, like the basic foundation is still the same. And so you got to just have faith that you're just, you know, just flow down the river and enjoy it. It's gonna, you know, everything will be okay. Everything is okay, really.
Yeah, I mean, this sermon really touched me. I was like crying throughout it because I'm definitely experiencing like similar to you and going through challenges that really resonated with their story, and to hear them lay it out and, you know, recognize every challenge as just like another place to choose love and choose God, and that like that desire that they felt into over and over again was consistently there, never left, and was always you know, what they were working towards. And like it was just such a beautiful success story of like, you know, overcoming every step of the way, like whether it's like the cab driver or like not like leaving them at the airport, or like not getting the room with the view, and like all of these little things. Like to me it just felt like what they'd said as like, yeah, this is just test after test. Like, do you really want this? Do you really want to come to America? And like for me it's like, do you really want God? And like, do you really want harmonious union? And like, you know, like yeah, like we've definitely been going through like the biggest cave of fear ever this week. It's felt like I've just had a whole night this past week where I was just like up all night, and like I don't stay up all night, like, you know, thinking things. Like usually I sleep pretty well, and this night I was just up like having this spiral in my mind, and it was definitely like a challenge and a test for me to get through and to just continue to choose love. And you know, it's a testament to this work how quickly, you know, the next day I was just feeling like myself. I was feeling better, I was feeling good, and I was out of that state of like anxiety. And like yeah, like it was just my own personal challenge that I had to go through, but I can definitely relate to their whole story, and it was very, very inspiring.
Yeah, I agree. It was really hit home. It's like it always, I mean, the sermons always really hit home for me throughout like each week, you know, depending on what I'm going through. And you know, we were both in our kind of cave of fear recently, and you know, I was questioning myself. It was almost like I was questioning, you know, everything that I knew, but it was like this fear-based thought of, and it wasn't gentle. It was loud within my mind. And so I really love how Brianne put that, because that's like how I've been able to recognize like what is right within my life and what I'm choosing. And when God is really speaking to me to like follow a certain path, it's gentle, and it's not based around fear and like questioning and worrying, and it's really gentle, and it's filled with like harmony. And I think that like whenever you're choosing to do something that you really desire, like God's gonna throw all these other things at you that will, you know, cause you to test you in ways to see if you're going to choose fear again, or to choose this other route that's going to take you further away from your destination that you really want to be. And like it's not always like just like walking down a paved path. I mean, there's going to be obstacles in the way that are going to really like test your perseverance and your faith. And yeah, it's amazing to like hear that from them, and the way that their story went, and like the depth of their involvement with God, and knowing that like he's always with them, and really like trusting him to like guide them through this situation. And like how they were told that they needed to get sponsor and everything, and they just kind of like ignored that because they knew that like in their hearts they had everything they needed, and they didn't need to do something that like was based around like this alternate perspective of like not having what you need, but they knew that they had what they needed. And yeah,
and had faith.
Definitely. I also like that it was about listening to God, really, because for like, if God had guided us to take a sponsor, we would have, but there was something about walking with the path and trusting that we were exceeding the expectations. And so when you put all of that into perspective, you realize that the rest was only illusions to work through, to heal, to process, but they didn't need to make a new choice. They were already doing it. And that's what God was communicating to them. You're doing it. And I found that really inspiring because this week I also went into a phase of like questioning almost everything that I knew. And it was definitely ego. It was kind of ridiculous. It came down to things like, are you really like right-handed or something? It was really like, it's an example, but it's ego making you rethink everything that you know because you're in that deep cave of fear. And that's funny because the last time we were there, we talked about the cave of fear, right? And by Friday, I was like, God, I can't take it anymore. It was an ongoing challenge. It's been there for months, years, working through it diligently. And I was like, I can't anymore. Please help me, show me something. And then I had that voice. And it's nice to know that other people have that voice too, where God is like very peacefully saying, hold on, keep going. You're doing it. There's nothing to worry about. You're really doing it, moving through it, and you're going to get there and you're going to have what you desire and you're going to have a result. And that was really reassuring. Very peaceful afterwards. It went from loud to quiet. I have to agree with you, Dylan. There was something about it went from anxiety, panic attacks almost, to being in the flow. And as Brian said, it was about taking one step at a time and knowing that you're supported by God, and it's not because you don't see the results on the outside that you can't do anything. And it feels really good taking one step at a time. And I guess this is what it means to learn how to have faith in a situation. It's you don't have to worry about the outcome. You don't have to worry that you're going to be supported or not, because you're going to receive everything you desire. And then you just have to focus on the step that God is presenting to you. And it's such a shift in consciousness, such a big healing, and it feels so peaceful afterwards. And I guess that's what connects your desires to like the faith that you need to have. And I loved what Diana said as well about you're one with your desire, and desire literally means of God. In I don't know if it's in Latin or in Greek, probably in Greek. It means of God. And the only thing that you're doing on earth is walking the path of your desire. So there is actually nothing that can stop you from manifesting your desire then. And so you don't really have to give too much power to the challenges and to the fear if you know that you're always walking into that space of desire with God. That was really, really important to me. I felt like that coupled with the sermon was so good. It was like the complete picture of how you walk with God, basically.
I really liked what Deanna said as well, and the Bible verse that she read. That really hit me hard, because I feel like, like you said, Irene, like faith is such a big component of this journey, this process. And, all you can really see is what is in front of you, like was said in the sermon. And it really is such a shift in like your consciousness. Like you really have to be, kind of disciplined in a way to like, because like we've all said, like ego is so loud. Like there's days where it will just try to confuse you, like the smallest little things. Like I've been where you are, where you're like questioning the most basic thing, like, am I right-handed? It's like, just like little stuff like that, where it's like, I literally like don't know who I am anymore, but it's like this like ego trying to like, it's like a trap, I feel like, because, you're healing, these like old layers are coming away, but sometimes it can be a very like messy, like painful process. And there's days where that's like all that is in front of you, because that's what God wants you to heal. You have to like feel your feelings, you have to go through it. And then, suddenly there's like this moment of peace and clarity, and you realize that like that's the whole point of this process, is to kind of like come to a place where you can feel how powerful you are, and like how powerful love is. And, like taking those steps is worth it, because, I used to live in a place where all that would scare me. Like I just would ignore it because it felt too much. I would always get like overwhelmed by my own emotions. And so I would just ignore them. But, that doesn't do anything except bring misery. And it's like, just knowing that it's worth the work, and you're going to get through it no matter what, even if you can't see it. I think like it's just been like what Deanna said and what was said in the sermon, it all kind of brought that, to the forefront of my mind, like once again, as like a good reminder that it's all worth it, even if there are challenges, but those challenges are good. And it makes me think of Jeff and Shaleia's story as well, as they mentioned, like about grace, how long it took them to manifest her physically on earth, and, all the challenges and like perceived setbacks, in actuality, they were doing it the whole time. She was always on her way, and she came at the perfect time. And, I think our like ego or culture, whatever, that it tries to make you feel like negative emotions are a bad thing and they need to be like controlled. But like, as we know, as unionists, like that's where the freedom is, and that's where God is. And so, yeah, I'm done. Sorry.
Yeah, the way Deanna opened up the sermon was just so on point. I think the description that she gave in the Bible verses that she read were like extremely just like they really opened up the sermon to allow you to understand and go deeper into like what faith really is. And it like gave me so much peace to really like hear that and the way that she explained it, and to know that like all of your desires are of God, like you were saying, and just the fact that that means of God just really says that like it's bringing you closer to God to really step into acknowledging like what you desire. And like I feel that at some point within all of our lives, or a lot of people kind of ignore like what they really want. Maybe their family is like pushing them in a direction, or someone in their life is like pushing them to do something, but deep down it's like, I really don't desire this right now. I don't want this for myself. And like to learn that like that's okay, and to know that like it's okay to really like follow your desire, and you don't have to follow like what another person desires for you, because that's not what God is telling you, and that's not what God is desiring for you. And yeah, it's like in every like challenge that arises when you're like walking this path towards your desires, like is only like bringing you closer, and like the challenges are never going to go away. And that's one thing that was said by Diana as well. Diana is like, once you like go through each challenge, it's like there's going to be more challenges that come through something else that allows you to go closer to God as well. So it's like really to embrace it, like that you're on this path. It's like you have to embrace it, like there's going to be challenges, and that you're going to come closer to God through each challenge, but you're always like a student. Like you're never not going to learn from these challenges if you accept that you're always learning from God. Like to know everything is like that's God. That's what God is for. Like he knows everything in this world, and he knows what your desires are. And like you really have to embrace it. Like you're always going to keep going through different challenges, like to allow yourself to come closer to being one with God, and being in perfect union with God. And I think that's just one thing that was coming to me throughout this sermon is like trusting in that and having faith that like as you move through your challenge, as hard as it may be or as impossible it might seem at some point in time, like that is there for such a profound reason to bring you closer to your creator and each desire that you have.
Yeah, I agree. And like what I've noticed is like the challenges, like getting through them and like getting through the thoughts of ego and the thoughts of separation, like it's become more like black and white for me as I've walked this journey. Like I can see it more clearly now of like when I'm in a state of like challenge or ego purification, like all this stuff coming up, like questioning and all of this, it's like kind of like instead of that really shutting me down and like freaking me out to like some other level, like it's like, oh, okay, I know what's happening now. Like I know this is purification. I know this is like not real. Like this is what's leaving me. Like this is taking me to my next level. Like it feels so much safer now to like be actively, like you said, someone said, like to be actively acknowledging, like I think it was you, like the healing journey, and to know that you're on this path because you get to like find this awareness and this peace and like the cycles of ascension and like of feeling really good, and then upheaval, massive upheaval. And yeah, like I've started to learn more about upheaval and to recognize it's not me, like I'm not the upheaval, that's what's leaving. And
It's a part of the process.
yeah, exactly. And it feels good almost to know, like, yeah, it does feel good to like realize it's part of the process, and it's just me claiming a new layer of love. And like whether upheaval shows up in like a challenge externally or like emotional feelings, it's like, as unionists, like we're equipped to handle that and continuously choose peace. Like I loved what Adam said when he sat down after the lady at the window was giving him a hard time, and he was just like, I choose peace, I choose peace. And like asking their son if do you choose perfect health? And just like it's so simple, like to make that choice, but the ego makes it seem like, oh, I can't just choose this. But no, like we can. And like the more we do that, like Diana was saying, the greater, bolder grows. And like I loved that visualization of growing our boulder of faith, and running down the hill, and
Yeah,
like nothing can stop it because we've earned that. It was earned, the manifestation that was the desire in our heart.
Yeah, I feel like I'm releasing a lot as we're talking right now. Like, it's like I'm beginning my upheaval now, and I'm almost like teary-eyed. But I think it's because I'm realizing that we're all moving through that stuff about acknowledging our feelings more and recognizing where we were numbed out once and scared, where we freaked out and just like run the other way. And it actually feels good to acknowledge your feelings, even when you feel scared, you feel like it's not good, you feel like you're questioning everything, instead of numbing out. And I've been watching a TFAS class, Wednesday, 7 p.m., class 87. And it was exactly that. It was Fabian being guided through his feelings more and expressing his feelings more. And, just being honest with his feelings. And I think there was something about it that was just, more sensitive, more guided, more aligned with God, I guess, is what I'm searching for. And I think when you're aligned with God, you're naturally manifesting your desire. And so it's just a process of aligning more with God. And sometimes fear is so loud, it's going to say, like, you can't have your desire. You won't have your desire this way. You must push through, force through your path externally, physically, do this, do that, run in a direction that has nothing to do with feeling your feelings. And then you realize that no, you can literally just sit there, feel your feelings with God, and you'll have your next step, and you begin again. You feel, and then you take a step, and you feel, and take a step, and suddenly you're exactly where you need to be, and you didn't have to run. You didn't have to exhaust yourself. You didn't have to freak out. And so I feel like we're all in this phase of learning more deeply, I guess, because in a sense we already knew that, right? That all of us needs to be aligned with God and needs to be aligned with feeling our feelings. And that's probably, if there was one thing that I would take from this week's lesson, especially this weekend, this would be it. And also, I was realizing how it was really easy after a good review about like feeling more black and white with where ego is and where love is. I feel like as we go, we understand more what is what, and also the phases we go through on our own personal journeys. And so there's something about like, the more you master the journey, the more you say like, oh, this is a phase of upheaval, and oh, this is a phase of challenges, and oh, this is a phase of bliss, and oh no, this is a phase of like taking action. And I like that because I can honestly say that most of the time before breakthrough, you will have all these shitty little things happening in my life, and it's like, God, what is this? Like, can't I live at peace? And it's all these little hurdles, these ridiculous things that Adam and Brian were talking about in their visa process, in the trip to Sweden. And when you take a look at them afterwards, they were like, oh, it's nothing. But when you're in the middle of it, you just have a feeling that you're targeted by life. They were saying that, oh, Sweden hates us, or something like that. And that's kind of the way it feels sometimes, but you just have to heal through it, and you realize that, oh, Sweden is actually very nice to us, but it's just that we're close to a breakthrough. So life is just, I guess it's not even God, it's like ego trying to throw this last little balls of challenges to you. And then God helps you through it by saying like, hey, remember your choice. Do you choose this? And you say, yes, I choose peace. I choose my good. I choose my love. And yeah, I'm sure a lot of people are experiencing that. It's always before the breakthrough that you have the most ridiculous things coming up. Sometimes it's physical things, like, for example, their son getting sick, not being able to know if they were going to be traveling, if they were going to be comfortable there, if they were going to be supported by the taxis there, the drivers. Sometimes it's in the form of other people. I know that before I had breakthroughs, I had a lot of people questioning, like, is this really the thing that you want to do? Is this really what you need to be doing? Even family, is this really what you desire? Do you think you will succeed? I love this one. Do you think you will succeed? You know, as if you didn't even like need to try. You knew that you were going to fail, but this is like the voice of ego, obviously, because you've already done it. So you just have to wait to be accepted and for the process to move through. And so yeah, I guess you learn to recognize the voice of ego and the voice of love. And the more you do, the more you can say, like, all right, this is ridiculous and I'm triggered by it, but this is definitely something that I recognize as the challenges right before the breakthroughs, and I know it's going to pass. And I feel this is most reassuring, and I feel it helped me a lot this week. And so I think the more people understand this, the less they can freak out, and the more they can be at peace with just, you know, life happening.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you all three have said. Things definitely get easier the more challenges arise, and challenges are always going to be there. So it's kind of like, I don't know, I feel like I always think of like you're learning a new skill. Like if you're a sport, an instrument, you know, a trade, whatever it is, it's kind of like the same sort of process. Like you go through a lot of like bumps in the road and a lot of like, you know, failures, mistakes, and then eventually if you continue, you become like a master at the craft or whatever it is. And so it's the same sort of thing. And I feel like everything in life that's like really worth it is just, it's going to take that sort of like level of commitment. But this is really worth it because you basically learn how to manifest all the desires, you know, you've had in your heart. And it makes me think back to what Adam was saying about, you know, when he was a child, like he always wanted to go to America, you know, and there was like, that desire was always there, but the older he got, the more, you know, he kind of forgot about it and didn't like really think about it. And it kind of makes me think about myself, like as a child, I always had this desire of having like my one true love. I would have Barbies and like make believe and do all these things. And, you know, like the older I got, and like, I feel like the more jaded I got, the more cynical just through like life's experiences. And I kind of like forgot about that desire and that dream I had. And then all of a sudden, you know, I remember it and like my whole life shifts and I find Jeff and Shaleia, and, you know, the rest is history. And so it's like, it's very comforting to know that like, even if like your conscious mind somehow has like forgotten this, or like ego has made you feel like, you know, it's not real or it's not worth it, like God always does something into your life that just kind of puts you back on track and like kind of like realigns you to what you actually want. And I don't know, like it's just very comforting to just know that the desire is coming from God, and it's really safe to like claim it and be like, yes, I want this. This is mine. This is my birthright. You know, I'm deserving of this. And I think having that too, like that confidence, and just that comes with the process as well. And like just claiming it, owning it, even if you can't see it, you know, it also really helps when, you know, challenges do arise.
Yeah, something that's coming to me is like, and I know it's been spoken about before, but there's like no rush, like when you're going through like your life, and like you don't have to like rush to get something done in a certain amount of time for you to have this certain desire, because like God is working it out for you like in the precise timing that it needs to happen like, in your life. And like one of the cards that was pulled was surrender, and something that like I've been focusing on a lot recently is like really surrendering my life to God and not trying to control, and releasing this idea that like I have to control certain things in my life to be able for them to come out a certain way, because I'm like that's not what I'm here to do. Like I'm here to surrender my life to God, and like allow him to come through me in these ways that allow my life to be exactly what I desire. And I think that that like it takes it's like a process to really understand that, and like to work through that in your own way, because everyone is like unique and their own perspective to, and they all have come through different backgrounds. So to kind of like go through your own separate journey and know that like it's not the same as anyone else's, and to not like compare yourself to someone else's journey, but to like learn from another's journey so that you can go through your path in a way that is compatible for your own life, and for like the people around you and your ultimate divine counterpart, your twin flame, and to know that like you don't have to get things done in a certain amount of time that doesn't feel good for you. And like if anything is feeling off, or if you're going through an upset regarding like getting something done in a specific amount of time, then you like it's time to release control and know that God's allowing it to happen in the way that it needs to, and that's perfect for you. And yeah.
Yeah, and like it took them 3 years, they said, to get this visa process completed. And I feel like that's off what you're saying. Like that's such a beautiful example of, yeah, like surrendering to God, and but holding your faith the entire time. Like, you know, your desire is going to come through no matter what. Like, even if you forgot about it, like you were saying, and like it's God's got you, like, because it's God's desire for you. And like, you know, like when you're on this path and you're choosing love and you're choosing your healing, like there's nothing preventing you from manifesting all of your desires. And like might take a year, 3 years, like Jeff and Shaleia with Grace took them, I don't know, like 7 years since they got married to have Grace, I think. And like it's a process, but you know, so many stories time and time again have shown us, like from the Bible, and like of, I don't know if it's named, I don't know if it's Jonah or Joseph, but someone was in prison for like 13 years. Like his brothers put him in prison for like 13 years. And like, you know, he never did anything wrong, but he just had faith and kept believing in God, trusting God, and, you know, got out and received, you know, his riches and manifestation. And like time doesn't even really exist. And it's just all about having faith and going deeper into love. And that's what's going to bring more peace and, you know, all of the desires that we have into the physical world. And yeah, and it feels really good to be aware of our power, like to manifest and to create. And like we're just getting started with this. Like we've been only here like a year, and I mean everything has changed for me, for us. And like I can't even, like only God can imagine where we're all going to be in 5 years after continuing this work. And like it's going to be so beautiful. Like we're gonna have hundreds of harmonious unions, and like it's just so powerful to think about. And it's so nice to have so many success stories already, like Brianne and Adam shared today, which was, like I said, I just teared up so many times because I was just like, yes, like it was just what I needed to hear. Like God is with us and we're walking this path with God. Like he's going to lead us to our dream life and to our dreams. And, you know, like we're doing it, and that little voice that tells us the truth is, you know, the only voice I choose to listen to. And yeah.
Yeah, one thing too, I think that like as a kid, like we all have these desires, and it's like as a kid you're closest to God in that sense, like when you're first born, and to know that like those desires that you have as a child is what your heart truly desires in this world, and to know that you're feeding your inner child by like tapping into that, and knowing that it's not just something that you wanted as a kid. It's not, you know,
Fantasy.
yeah, it's not a fantasy for you to have this certain desire within your world. Like that's what your inner child wants for you. And a lot of like society like tells you that you shouldn't listen to like your inner child, or they basically your inner child just gets crushed by so many things within this world. And like to know that that's like an illusion and that's false, and you don't need to crush your inner child. You can feed your inner child and gift your inner child in these teachings and love and peace and compassion, and know that you're doing like the best you can, and you're making the right decision to feed your inner child.
Amen.
Yeah, you guys are saying so many good things, it's hard to keep up. And also India, same, that's how it was earlier. But yeah, about Jonah, I guess the fact that he spent 30 years in prison, reminding me of the second Bible verse that Diona just shared with us, which was, faith is the evidence of things not seen. And she said right after that, I think, because you believe, it's already done. And there's something so powerful about that. And just knowing that you're supported, and just knowing that you can have faith. And also on the fact that sometimes we feel pressured to do things, and not in our own time, not knowing what to do and how and when. I think it's all part of a surrender thing that we need to have with God. And sometimes it's not about, okay, all right, I'm feeling stressed, so I'm just going to stop. And because sometimes I do that and I'm just like, oh, I'm scared. It's not that. I think sometimes it's just about feeling your feelings, stopping and doing a mirror exercise, talking with God, journaling, processing, and then 5 minutes later, you suddenly have an inspiration and you know what to do. Exactly like they said about the sponsor thing. And at first we were like, we do not understand what this is about. Like we have no idea what the hell do we do. And they just decided to stop, and they just decided that it was time to feel their feelings. And then they went back to the website, and I was like, oh, it's there. We get it now. And sometimes it's just this, and sometimes it just has to take 5 minutes, but we just have to remember that step of God is here with us, and we need to talk to God. And if you feel pressured, it's like, all right, it's God time, God and me time, and then you get back to it. And that's a huge thing that I've been learning too. And about the desires and the inner child and the dreams, yeah, I can definitely relate to that. And I can honestly say that after 4 years of healing, the things that stay with me are the things that I've known since I was 2 years old, and the dreams that I've had since that time, and and that have never left me. And I just realized now, while trusting myself more, giving myself a voice where I didn't have a voice before, I just realized that these are the most important things. These are the God-like desires. These are my compass through life. And it's like, all right, I wasn't crazy. I was right to trust it. I was right to hear his voice, and I didn't exactly succeed in following it all the time, but the journey was still perfect, and the journey still guided me to my desire and beyond, since I'm on this journey and doing the things that I dreamed of before, and so much more to come. So yeah, that was my intake on all of this. And are you feeling okay?
No, I feel great. Thank you, Dylan, for your words. They're really very powerful, very healing. Yeah, I'm just feeling emotional, but in a good way. These conversations are always very healing for me, and especially today's topic. And especially like around just like your inner child, and ever since I've started this work, that's kind of like where all the healing has led me to, is just like all these inner child wounds. And I don't know, it's just very freeing to just like she feels happy, like it's just like tears of joy, because I think for the first time I can like finally like take a breath and like relax and like, oh, we're good. Like everything's good. Like all the things that I've known ever since I was a child are true, and I don't have to deny it to myself anymore. Like I can live in this freedom of just knowing, even if like, people question me sometimes, like my parents question me, other people question me. And I'm always like, yeah, 100%. Like I have no doubt that I'm on the right path, and everything I'm doing is right for me, because I can finally feel that my inner child is happy, like she feels happy and safe. And I came to this work so scared. Like I was just like terrified, like everything in life just terrified me. And I didn't realize how early on in my life I felt like that. It kind of feels like, my earliest memories were always about, there's just like some fearful experience I was experiencing. And life eventually just always felt scary, but it doesn't anymore. And I think that's why, like what Dylan was saying, it just really hit me hard, because it doesn't feel that way anymore. And it's like a very nice, freeing feeling.
I'm so happy for you, and I really enjoy speaking with all of you today. It really feeds so much for me as well, and hearing both of you speak about the sermon and your own experiences just really helps me as well. And so grateful to be able to be a part of this community and speak the truth. And yeah, means a lot.
Yeah, me too. And Anya, as you're talking, I was just getting teary-eyed also. This tea time is so powerful today. I just felt like, yeah, like your words spoke right to my inner child too. And that like she's safe and at peace, and like she's home now, and like we're all home. And yeah, like she can just take a deep breath and relax and settle in to being home and being safe and being right. Like I always think of that Billy Joel song, like, oh, I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to think of it, but it's just a song that goes like, you're right. Like maybe it's Vienna, I don't know. But I always think that song, because I think he's speaking to, the voice of God, and those who can hear it, and those who follow it and are told maybe they're crazy or they're wrong, but no, they're right. And like we're only right because God is right, and God is love. And like yeah, that's just what I'm feeling. And is that love is real, and like it's the only thing that's real. And like I love learning about love and hearing about love and talking about love. And this is everything like I've ever wanted to do in my own way, like without even knowing. As a kid, I had no idea what I wanted to be when I was a little kid, like no idea. Like I was like, I don't want to be a teacher, maybe a doctor. No, like nothing fit for me. And like now I like totally know why, because I just didn't have any concept for what we're doing of like love. And like I loved Jesus so much, but like there was no career like with Jesus until like now that I can see. And like it's just so cool, and I'm so grateful.
Well, I guess today was definitely Cry City. It's okay. Good tears of joy, as Andrea was saying. Yeah, it was Vienna, I think, by Billy Joel. I also like just the way you are, because it feels like he's talking to his lover, but at the same time, I always feel like he's talking directly to the inner child as well. It's so healing. And yeah, that's the only thing I can say, I guess, for right now. Do you guys feel complete? Yeah. It was nice. Thank you. Thank you very much for this discussion. Very, very healing. I hope the people that are watching it felt inspired too, and felt healed as well by this sermon and after church tea time. If you're watching from YouTube and you liked what you saw, don't forget to subscribe and like this video and share it with other people to spread the message of unionism and the beautiful things and moments that we're having right now. And so, yeah, take care. Have a good rest of your Sunday. Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.